Remember the old saying, you can have too much of a good thing? Well, I think that applies to the Australia-India series we just saw. These two teams play each other seemingly every year, and the reasons are understandable. They're big rivals, the games are usually highly competitive, very intense games of cricket, and the revenue generated from these games are a promoter's dream. The Test series we saw earlier in the year was fantastic. It was competitive, riveting cricket. That was a fantastic advertisement for Test cricket. However, this limited overs series that we just saw was the dampest of squibs. The ODIs weren't competitive. India wiped the floor with Australia like they have most other teams. And the 2020s, who really cared about those games? I think the way the third 2020 went summed up my feelings about the tour. The game was abandoned without a ball being bowled, not because of rain, but because the outfield was deemed unsafe for play. The series was well poised at 1-1, and for it to end in that way was nothing short of farcical. So why was this series so boring? Number one, viewer fatigue. India and Australia, we see it all the time. India have been playing so much cricket over the last 24 months, it's unbelievable. A lack of context. What did this tour really mean? Test matches at least bring a little bit of context to the limited overs leg of a tour. Often the whole revenge narrative comes up, but for this tour there were no test matches that preceded it, and so there was next to no context, apart from the two teams continuing to tinker with their combination ahead of the World Cup in 2019. But look at the Australian team they put out. There was no Mitchell Starc, no Josh Hazlewood. Pat Cummins was rested for the 2020 series. Steve Smith was rested for the 2020 series. If that was a test match against India or an Ashes test, both of them would have played. It was simply, these were games that were not important to Australia, and hence they took the opportunity to rest some of their most important assets. Even India did a lot of experimenting after they won the ODI series. There simply was no bite to the games. Not to mention, usually India and Australia games are filled with passion, often a lot of sledging, controversy. There was nothing of the sort in this series. It was so bland. The India-Australia rivalry has become what it is due to a lot of controversial moments over the years, but there was nothing of the sort in this series. The most controversial moment was the whole Hardik Pandya run out no ball saga. That was it. That's absolutely nothing. This was not a good look for cricket. A marquee series, a marquee rivalry, to be such a damp squib is a terrible look for cricket. Cricket needs to be protecting its biggest rivalries and making sure that they are meaningful both to the players so that they aren't going to rest for these series, that we see the best possible teams put out, and for the fans. What's the point of watching when the games do not mean anything? Those 2020s, you forget about what happened when you wake up the next day. No one cares about them, and it's hurting cricket. So what was my takeaway from the series? Stop with these limited overs only tours. They are a waste of time. They are doing a disservice to the game, and as such, they simply must be stopped.